Okie dokie, guys. So tonight we're going to talk about the ocean currents that are located, in the ocean water. And there's a difference. There's actually two types of currents that you're going to learn about today. There's a very big difference between the two, so make sure that you know that too. All right, so a current is a large stream of moving water that flows through oceans. It carries water all over the world, even great distances. So it affects a lot of things here on Earth. So without currents, a lot of things would be different. Our life would be a lot harder and really a lot different. When you're looking at a map, the red means warmer water. So in a couple of days, at the end of this week, you'll be kind of differentiating between a cold current and a warm current. Of course, the warm currents are red, the cold currents are blue. So there are two types of currents. The first one is a surface current. These are caused by winds. This is the water that you swim in, at the top of the ocean. The reason why they move is because of the winds. They affect climates and transport, so that way we can get goods from other countries and things like that. Deep ocean currents are caused by density differences. So when water is more dense, it's going to sink, and when it's less dense, it's going to float. Two surface currents that you must know. The first one is the Gulf Stream. It's on the right-hand side of North America. You're probably pretty familiar with this. It has to do with the climate of Europe, and also the California current, which is on the coast of California on the left-hand side of North America. Let's see, California current's cold, the Gulf Stream is warm. If you do notice that, if you ever go to Europe, the climate of Europe is actually pretty similar to New York, sometimes even the Carolinas, but it has the same latitude as Canada, which is kind of weird, and that is because of the Gulf Stream, so make sure you know that. This is the sea surface temperatures, and you can see that once you get to the equator, that's about the hottest that you're going to get, and the further away that you get from the equator, the colder it's going to be. These are all the surface currents in the world. So again, you've got the Gulf Stream right here, the California current, and you can kind of start to see sort of a pattern that starts to occur where there are little circles kind of going around in the same direction depending on if they are above or below the equator. So these are going clockwise, just like this one right here and this one, but these are going counterclockwise, which is kind of weird. This is because of the Coriolis effect. Now, the Coriolis effect has to do with the fact that, the Earth is on a tilt and it's also rotating around. So because of that, it causes our water to move a certain way. This is another look at the Gulf Stream. It's a warm surface current, and of course it affects the climate. Notice how the Gulf Stream veers to the right, and that is because it is in the northern hemisphere, so it's going to the right clockwise. It brings warm water from the equator. We already know this right there. The California current brings cold water from the polar waters. So it goes right here. That's why the California weather is pretty consistent throughout the year. It's because it's that same cold water that's coming in. It's about, 60 to 70 degrees throughout the entire year. That's because of this current right here. Okay, so climate is an area's average temperature and precipitation. It is affected by latitude, elevation, and of course surface currents. So your surface currents that are around you will affect your climate. Example, the British Islands are warmer than you might expect due to the Gulf Stream, which is kind of what I said earlier. And why has a hurricane never hit California? So maybe you need to think about what kind of water is needed for a hurricane and what kind of water is near California. You might want to write down your thoughts on the bottom left-hand side of your paper on the front. If you look at the two cities in the U.S., Santa Cruz, California, which is off to the left, and North Carolina, California is pretty consistent, but it's actually a lot warmer, and then North Carolina is not consistent at all, but they're at the same latitude, so they're at the same distance away from the equator. So that means that the current, the Gulf Stream current right here, has a different effect on that area as opposed to California right over here. So deep currents we know are caused by density, and we know that density is mass divided by volume, so make sure that you know this. Water density depends on temperature, so we know that cold water sinks because it's more dense, and also saltier water sinks because it's more dense too. So make sure that you know that too. You might want to star those things, those two things down in the bottom right-hand corner of your notes. All right, so you are done with your notes at this time. You can go through these questions if you want to help you kind of prepare for your quiz on Friday. And I'll go through them very quickly so that way you can pause them, look at them if you want to, because these are all fair game for your quiz on Friday. We're not going to talk about upwelling right now, so don't worry about that. Again, you do not need to have the back of your paper done because we're going to go over those next week, but make sure that you keep these in your science folder. All right, have a great evening.